Hello, Teddy here, and today we return to Trove. Look, I know, I said I would not play this game again, or I wouldn't make a video for it, but for fuck's sake, man's gotta get views, okay? My ego has taken a serious beating. So as the narcissistic artist that I am, I'll follow in the footsteps of my predecessors and sell my soul to Satan, or Trove, I guess. Trove is Satan. This is how you get famous, right? For this video, and this video alone, I give you permission to roast the ever-loving shit out of me in the comments, okay? Dislike the video, or like it, I don't know, do what you want, whatever. And my official apology for putting you guys on hold for over a year is this heart emoji. And an old school Flux video from 0 to 1 million. I also need to explain something important. The gunslinger is cool, okay, but we need to diversify. So from now on, I am a boomer. It really isn't a funny meme. You know how magicians pull the bunny out of the hat? Well, you know, I'm all about breaking barriers, breaking stereotypes, becoming a better version of yourself, diversifying, okay? Diversify, baby. So now, the bunny is the magician, okay? No more bunny slavery, alright? Before you know it, I'll be pulling people out of the hat. When he throws a bomb, bosses disappear. Magic. Anyways, we're done with introductions. Boomer, say hi. You say hi to Boomer. What's up, dog? Anyways, I hope you all like my new character, but it's time to start the actual video. To make this an official from 0 to 1 mil Flux video, unlike what I did with the Road to Gonda series, which is where I started at 700,000, we're gonna actually start at literally 0 Flux. So all of the Flux I've collected so far, which is about 90k, we have to give away, so I decided to make a local homeless man's day. My plan for making this 1 mil is to first collect Flux with 0 investment in terms of Flux. I'll just invest my time to either farm ores. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to farm ores. Seriously, if you're having trouble making Flux, just go farm ores. It's really not complicated. Then I'll use that Flux to flip the market, of course, because that's what I like doing. The more Flux I have, the more I can invest, and the more I'll make, and you'll see it ramp up over time. Anyways, as a start, I went to U10 Geode and mined Nitro with my damn laser, like a freaking peasant. Something I did want to mention is that this new update, it's releasing a new level of crystal gear, and Scythe, he mentioned in his video, I know Scythe, you hate Scythe or whatever, but he's right about this. He did mention, you may want to buy some Nitro up now and just have it in reserves. If I had like 5 million worth of Flux, I'd probably buy 1 mil right now and sell it once the update drops, but I'm broke. We are poor now. Anyways, I ended mining with 500 Nitro and sold it for 40k, not 400k, geez. So we already are 4% done with the goal, you know, easy. When you're low at Flux, you have to take advantage of every avenue you have to make Flux for 0 investment in terms of Flux. It was Shadow Tower day, so I did some Shadow Tower farming. The Boomer sucks in Shadow Towers, so I'm gonna use the Gunslinger. I didn't do as much as I normally do, but I ended with 196 Shadow Caches. I'll sell these later on once the price goes back up. If I had more Flux right now, I'd have bought up Shadow Caches at a low price, but, well, I mean, I don't have to tell you. In the middle of farming Shadow Towers, someone decided to put a bunch of Celestial Diamonds up for 875 and 900 Flux. For some reason, someone kept putting them in stacks of 2 for half price. It's like, he would just put them up in 2, you put 2 stacks of 2 for half price, wait a minute, and then put 2 more up. Why don't you just put them all up for half price? I'd buy you out right there. I ended up buying 10 of them for 875, 24 for 900 Flux, and I made a 30,000 Flux investment. Sold them all for 1,670 Flux each, so a total of 56,000 Flux made with a profit of 26,430. But with all the dungeons and the gems and the Shadow Towers, I ended with around 86,337 Flux from the first day, not counting the Flux I have in Shadow Cache, so it's definitely above 100k right now. So for the first day, we have this little amount in our pocket, so we can actually start investing more, and we should see the profit ramping up from now on. Day 2. Yeah. This is the first official day of flipping. I also discovered a new hidden ability of my Gonda that I didn't even know about. Anyways, we'll come back to that later, but it's freaking awesome, I'm telling you. I used the same method I explained a year ago with how I flipped the market for profit. I used the same method I explained a year ago in my how to flip the profit Trove. How come when I say Trove, I get this itch in my throat and I can't finish the sentence? What the hell's wrong with me? Anyways, I used the same method I explained in my how to flip the market for profit in Trove video from a year ago. The first 2 hours I did a lot of small flips that aren't really worth mentioning because, you know, it's just a one and done thing. The bigger ones where I actually had to use my head to predict the changes in the markets are a Shapestone flip and a Fairy Dust flip. I know I used to do this thing where I would count the exact amount I spent and profit I made, but I mean, by God, I bought, you know, way too much of this stuff to count it, so I'm just going to show you. It started with buying 2 stacks of Shapestone. One was for 2.5 and one was for 2.6. I listed them all in stacks of 2,500 for 3 each. My idea here was, even though there's stacks of Shapestones up for lower than 3, they're all stacks of 9,999, and no one wants to buy that much. Let's be honest, nobody does. So if someone doesn't want to buy that much, mine would be the first option so I can squeeze out a little bit more profit. If someone were to not look at what I was doing and they were to just plop it up for 2.8, I would have to either buy them out or drop my price, which did end up happening. I chose to buy most of them out, and others I just waited for them to sell because I've always had success flipping Shapestone. The only problem with Shapestone is it takes years to sell. The crap it doesn't move. So I wouldn't really recommend doing Shapestone if it's your first flip. You may have a lot of anxiety or something, I don't know. I ended up investing more than half of my pocket at once, which is a lot for someone who's so freaking broke. This did come back to bite me in the ass because someone decided to dump a ton of Shapestone for 2 each. I ended up running out of funds, so I couldn't buy out all the competition. Someone else got a lot of those stacks for 2 each. I seriously got cucked, like, majorly by these Fairy Dusts selling at the worst time. Like, someone bought them, then they sold, then I collected the flux, and I went back to the market, and they weren't there. It's just like, why? Someone undercut me by 1 flux. He only sold them in 2 stacks, so he was only selling them at 2 at once. This is a strategy that some people use to not flood the market. Basically, it gives the illusion that someone isn't flipping that item. I normally don't do that, but if you're flipping, like, you have mass, like you have a lot of the item that you're flipping, you're gonna want to do this, because if you just plop them, like, thousands of them on the market, people are just gonna be like, you know what, screw this, I'm just gonna drop the price. If he had flooded the market, I would have undercut him, and then he would have undercut me, and it would have started a war. This will come into play later in the video. I actually started a war myself, but after about 2 hours, it did sell. I don't know how much I made off of this, but it's probably around 10 to 20,000. Keep in mind, if I had more flux, I'd have bought in those ones where the guy was selling at 2, and I would have made even more. So the more flux you have, the more you make, basically, is what I'm trying to say. While I was doing this Shapestone flip, I was actually investing in other things at the same time. It did take 2 hours, so I was kind of bored. Anyways, Fairy Dust is a market that I have been watching. I had seen that people were keeping the price at 140 each. It always went back up to 140, so when I saw that people were dumping Fairy Dust on the market, I knew I'd make money off of it. It went down to 125, and I wanted to let it keep going down, but I figured if I didn't buy it right then and there, someone else would probably buy it. So I decided to not be greedy and just take my opportunity. I ended up buying around 200 Fairy Dust, so a really small flip. But, you know, we have, like, no flux, so we have to keep it small. I just went ahead and listed them at 140, and I actually caught it on film when the guy bought it up to 140 as predicted. So, yeah, I mean, just saying, I'm kind of a freaking super genius. Eventually, it did sell, so I made a little bit of money off of it. I didn't make a whole lot off of this, but I figured it was a good example of my method of flipping in action. Now, just after I finished this, I got a message from Reaper, okay? And turns out, Gonda has the secret ability called freaking mind control. In the words of Reaper, you jump on your Gonda and the whole server follows you and bombs everything in your path. So basically, I just saw, dude, work smart, not hard, seriously. It really is that simple. It's called a Gonda train, and for some reason, people just follow you. Like, I don't know why they don't just go on by themselves. Anyways, I'm not really the best conductor in the world. It took me some time to get used to this power. But, you know, it is actually really cool. I did this for like an hour or 2, and I ended with 2,472 nitro. That's without patron. I sold them in 80 each, and it got me 197,759 flux. The last thing I did this day was a Golden Souls flip. Golden Souls are really great right now. Anyways, I knew that the price had been 940 for quite some time. I think the price has actually dropped as I'm recording this. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to Golden Souls, at least as I was recording this. You know, the market can change over the matter of a day. It can go from 2,000 each to 900 each in one day, you know, and You just always have to be prepared. Same formula as I did before. Someone kept putting golden souls up for 875 and 900 each, so I kept buying them up. My nitro eventually sold, so I had newfound wealth. I was able to keep them up there consistently and until I sold them all. By the end of this day, I had a liquid flux value of 370,914 flux. If you're wondering how much I made off of just flipping alone this day, taking away the Gonda train flux and the flux I made yesterday, I made around 86,818 flux off of just flipping, so maybe take away like 10,000 from that for just doing dungeons and my magic find and stuff. But yeah, that's the end of day 2. Now we go on to day 3. Day 3 was pretty boring. Since it was gem day, I decided to just grind gems mostly. There were multiple little flips throughout the day, but again, I'm not going to go into detail, blah blah blah. Basically, here's how you do the little flips. You find like 3 or 4 items you like, learn the prices of them, and then just search those items every now and then as you're doing whatever you're doing in the game, and when someone puts the price below it, buy it, put it up for the price that you know it's at, and it will normally 9 out of 10 times it will sell. So it really is just that simple. The 2 main ones I did today were a fairy dust flip and a golden soul flip, so it's literally just yesterday again. Anyways, I started with a stack of 300 for 130 each. Then there were stacks of 658 for 130 each. Remember, if you know the normal price, you can be confident in your investments, so don't hesitate to buy that crap up. Do not listen to me when I list a normal price, because keep in mind, it's a market. Markets fluctuate. Don't be stupid, basically. Just don't be dumb. Just raise your IQ a few levels and you'll be able to do it, no problem. I guarantee you. 100%. 100%. I listed them all at 140 each. Someone else kept undercutting me with stacks of 30 for 135 each. Of course, since I have the funds now, I was able to just buy the competition out, so that's what I did. The guy was basically just giving me flux at this point. They all sold eventually, and I had 405,034 flux by the end of it, and I probably made a few thousand off this flip. So yeah, it's just, you know, free flux. Yeah. Again, we're still doing the small flips. We're not getting to the really big ones yet, but this is, you know, we're slowly ramping it up. We'll get there. Don't worry, okay? This is how you do it. This is how you slowly build up your flux pocket. You shouldn't be doing huge investments if you don't have a lot of flux. Anyways, the next one I did was golden souls. I literally used the same exact formula I did yesterday, so I'm not gonna talk on this a lot. Someone sold them for 140 each, which is like, what are you even doing, dude? So are you okay? Seriously. Anyways, golden souls are always a safe investment if you're not stupid. I literally don't think I've ever lost flux flipping golden souls. But yeah, I was buying them up to 940 each again, so the price hadn't changed yet. Right now, I'm pretty sure the price is around 900, like I said previously, so it did drop from where it was, but I was still able to sell them. That's the advantage of not buying a lot and just keeping to small flips, is that it's a one and done thing. You're not putting all of your eggs in one basket. You get to put a lot of different eggs in different baskets, you know, like you have your tentacles all over the place, gripping at tons of different markets, and you're like a freaking G or whatever. Warren Buffett said it. He said, diversify, motherfucker. That's probably not his exact words. Point stands. Whatever. I was just doing this while mining fire dust with a guy. I bought like at least 200 of them, and I sold them all at my desired price, which was 940 each. I ended this flip at around 493,109 flux. I had also done other flips during this, but they were really small. They were one and done things, so not worth mentioning. Throughout day 3, I made 122,195 flux. So pretty much just cut that in half, and that's how much I made off of just the flips alone. Most of it was that golden souls one. That was nice. And now we get to day 4. I noticed this day that people were starting to dump the shadow caches that they had farmed on day 1. They got impatient. I did end up buying some when they were placed below 300 each, so I have a little bit more than the 196 I farmed on Shadow Tower Day. The market was going like really slow at the beginning of the day, and I wanted to make some damn flux, okay? So I resorted to the basics, just farming resources. I bought 1,000 bombs and went to mine nitro. This was not gathering day, so I was just mining normally. I ended with around 1,408 nitro, so still a lot. Subtracting the flux from the bombs, I made 84,881 flux from this small mining venture. I made a lot more flux off of this than I would have made off of flipping with the amount of funds that I have, but what you have to keep in mind is that I can't invest a lot. I don't have a lot of flux. Once you start getting into the 10 mil mark where you have a ridiculous amount of flux, you can literally just go the entire day and make it like a freaking repeating thing. I'll show you that eventually. Once I get to that level, we will do that. We're not gonna do it in this episode, but I'll do it later, you know. In my 5th episode of the Road to Gonda series, I suggested the idea of buying nitro for low and selling it right there. So pretty much the same exact thing I normally do. Basically, people always list nitro in stacks of 500 or 1000, and sometimes when people are farming it, they don't want to wait a long time, so they'll just undercut by like 1 or 2 unit price each. And if you're selling in stacks of 500, even by 1 unit price, that's still 500 flux made, and it moves so fast that you can sell it like very fast. It's very easy to make flux off of this, and I knew I'd be able to make money off of this, so I decided to test out my idea today, a year later. So I started with just keeping the price at what it was, which was 73. I would buy all listings for 72, 71, 70, 60, 60, 70, 50, whatever, I don't care. Basically anything below 73, I would buy it. It don't matter. As long as it's below 73, I'd buy it. When listing, I'd undercut by 1 flux, as I always do, and I think you should do this too. The only time you shouldn't do this is if someone has already done that. Then you should put it at the same price as the person undercutting by 1 flux, so that you keep it at the same. Otherwise, you're gonna start a war, okay? It's not worth it. I learned my lesson with this later in the video. You're causing unnecessary stress to your flipping peers, okay? We can screw people over and be friends at the same time, alright? Anyways, the idea worked pretty well. I did this for about an hour. While doing it, someone ended up buying the price up to 74 each, so I played along. I'm not sure, I don't think he was actually trying to flip, he was just buying nitro. So I was pretty stupid to actually do this, because another person who was selling nitro, he kept putting them at 73 each. He just kept putting stacks of 100 or 1000 and 500 at 2 of those each. The guy must have had like 40k nitro to dump, because it just kept coming. Like, after I had bought about 2000 of it, I decided to just stop and to just cash out and go back to 73. I didn't lose any money because I had successfully sold for what I had bought for, so I was still in the green, I was still making money. Anyways, I managed to be dumb enough to not record the end of this flip, but what I can tell you is that this does work, of course. I've done this with like every single resource in the game, so I knew it would work, but nitro is the resource that moves the fastest overall compared to everything else. So nitro is one of those resources that is very safe to invest in. If you have like 500k flux, try this, just do it. It's a simple beginner flip. Like, if you're a newbie to this, you can be pretty confident that you're gonna make flux off of this. If someone undercuts you, like I said in my flipping guide, just leave it overnight. It'll 9 out of 10 times it'll sell, and if it doesn't sell overnight, then cash out, or you know, just get what you can out of it. Like, don't freak out and be patient, okay? At the beginning of the flip, I had 570,236 flux, and the last recording I have of the flip was 584,527 or 72 flux, adding up all of the flux I had in the market at the time. So I made about 14,336 flux in just under an hour. So that's pretty good rates, especially considering I messed up trying to sell at 74 instead of just 73. So this is like just a really good flip for a beginner. Like, if you're trying to get into flipping, just do this and you'll learn it slowly. Like, you'll learn how to do this. Anyways, another flip I did today was a fairy dust flip. I bought fairy dust from 100 to 40, sold them all at 140, and by the end of this flip I had 652,328 flux. So there's a huge, or not a huge, but there's a pretty big jump there. I'm pretty sure I kept doing the nitro for like maybe another hour or 2. I was just watching YouTube, and since, you know, naturally Corona Cabana is keeping us at home, so, you know, this is all I have to do. It's not like I have a life anyways. I also caught someone else putting up stacks of 100 primordial flames for 7.5 each. I don't know what the hell this guy was doing. He'd just put them up every now and then, you know, he'd space it out, he'd spice it up a little bit, and he would put them up for 8.5 each, and then he would put them back at 7.5. It's really weird. But the guy ended up selling me 800 primordial flames for like cheap, really cheap. I was able to upsell them by like 25 each, which is a lot of flux. So I ended this one with 673,329 flux. So I made 180,220 flux on day 4. And this is where shit hit the fan, my guy. Okay, we made big mistakes on this one. You see, the past few days I've been experimenting with fairy dust. As I've showed you guys, like pretty much the past 3 days, I did fairy dust flips, and that's what I'll do. I'll do small flips just to see how fast the item sells. Is it a slow moving item? Is it a fast moving item? You know, is it easy? Like, do people undercut you a lot, or is it just smooth sailing? You know, like, what happens with this item? So I decided to go all in on fairy dust, which was horrible. Like, I don't know what I was thinking, because I knew fairy dust is not an item that moves fast. I knew it moves slow, yet I still decided to make this decision, which is just like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what am I doing? I'm a freaking idiot. I'm a freaking idiot. Anyways, I bought fairy dust up from 125 to 145. At the start, this was going great, but by God, I chose the wrong one, okay? Some guy was not having it. He said, yeet, motherfucker, and he's decided to undercut me. He flooded the market. You know that thing where I was saying you put up only 2 stacks each? Or 2 stacks? Yeah, this guy said, yeet, motherfucker, and he put them all up for 1 flux below me for his entire shop. And you know what I did? I was dumb enough. I let my anger overtake me, and I wasn't thinking with my head. I decided to undercut the guy back by 1 flux. So I just started a freaking war, okay? This is what I'm talking about when it started. I am a freaking genius on paper. Okay, but when it comes to live action, I just don't listen to my own advice. So naturally, the guy saw that I had declared war on him, okay? I was invading his country. I mean, his market. I was invading his market. So, of course, he took him down, and at the time, I was like, yes, I won. Haha, I was making fun of him in the chat. And, the guy starts putting him up for 120 each. Man, straight up snapped. I was done at this point. I saw this guy was clearly the dominant fairy dust merchant, okay? But seeing the opportunity, I started buying him out, alright? I put down 300,000 flux on this guy's fairy dust, and he still was putting him up. Like, his market was still full. I seriously don't know why this guy had so much freaking fairy dust. It's weird. I had stepped down. I was just watching the carnage. I was watching the world be ripped to shreds, okay? The war was ravaging everyone. Not really, I'm kind of over-exaggerating it. But another guy decided to undercut him by 119, and by God, he started putting him up for 100 each. This guy is ruthless, okay? He's got endless pockets. And let me tell you, the guy kept the price at 100 for over an hour. Like, how do you do that? Over a freaking hour? People were buying them too, like, they were moving pretty fast, because that's a deal. Like, 100 is a deal. That's over 40 below where I had it when he started. I poked the bear, and the bear freaking ate my damn face off, okay? But hey, all's not lost, alright? You remember how I bought over 6,000 fairy dust at 120 each. So I was selling them. I planned to sell them at 145 each. That means that I was gonna make over 2.5k. No, actually not over. It was literally 2.5k. It was 2,499 flux to be exact, from each stack of 100 that I had bought. All I have to do is wait for the price to go back up. So since I had literally given this guy all of my flux, I decided to start farming dragons. Because it was drag day, I was gonna just go into a water world and farm dragons. So by the end of farming dragons, I had about 50,000k or 50,000 pocket change. Just so that I'm not freaking broke. I wouldn't have farmed them if I hadn't have gone freaking broke, but I did. So since I officially have all of my eggs in one basket at this point, I decided to take it slow on day 6. All I did was slowly whittle away at the thousands of fairy dust I had to sell. I was right, the price did eventually go back up to 140 each. I listed them in stacks of 100 for 145 each, and they were selling, okay? They were going at 145. I was still having to invest more into fairy dust at the time though. So I had to buy the price up to 145 to actually sell it at 145. The problem was, I knew the price of fairy dust was 140. I was buying it up to 145. And when I put 5 up, people were like, this guy's got a ton to sell, so I'm just going to undercut him. So people would undercut me by 1 each, and then it would just go down and down and down. Fairy dust is not good, seriously. It moves so slow. It's a completely bearish market. Don't do it. Don't buy fairy dust. People did undercut me, but I decided to keep my price at 145. I held true at 145. I wouldn't buy out the competition at this point. I was just waiting. I had invested too much already. The other thing I did today was I sold off the shadow caches I farmed. I had invested in some, so I had like 260 or something. I sold them all. They sold for around 100k flux. The problem is I spent all of that on getting my second primordial drag. 100% worth it, by the way. Basically, we can just mark the Shadow Towers farming off the list, you know. Basically, it's just negligible now. Anyways, that's all for day 6. That's pretty much all I did. It was a really slow day. Moving on to day 7. I still have around 6,000 fairy dust to sell on day 7, so you can see how slow it was moving. People kept undercutting me at 1 unit price, so I decided to just give up on 145, and I started selling them at 140 each. Doing this, I sacrificed around 500 flux per 100 fairy dust sold, but honestly, that was a sacrifice I was willing to make because I was still making 2,000 per 100 fairy dust that I sold, so you know, that's still like a lot of flux in my profit. I'm making a lot of flux while this flip. But now that I've given the fairy dust a little bit of time to sell, I had gathered a little bit of flux in my pocket, so I decided to start investing in other things this day. I did 2 robotic salvage flips. I bought the price from around 60 to 70 each, and I sold them off pretty fast. Also started experimenting with radiant shards. I had been watching the radiant shard market for a little bit. I saw that the price kept going back to 5.4 each. I tested some small flips on them in the previous days, and they always sold, and they sold relatively fast. So I decided to buy even more today, and again, it sold pretty fast. So the next day, day 8, I took it to the next level, okay? I bought 89,000 radiant shards for 5 each when someone dumped them, where it was dumping over like 100k radiant shards at 5 each. I didn't record this one, but you can see some of the shards in my inventory. I think I had like 60k at the time. I also decided to grind Shadow Towers today as I managed to get a 3-day patron drop from the leaderboard chests. So, you know, I had to take my opportunity, of course. This day, I sold off a ton of fairy dust. I sold over 5,000 fairy dust because I decided to drop the price to 140. Between 140 and 145, the difference is like night and day. It sold way faster. Still, even at 140, I don't recommend that you do large fairy dust flips. Keep it to a small number of fairy dust. It really just moves too slow. It's a really bearish market. And if you're wondering what I mean by bearish and bullish, there's 2 different types of markets. There's stock market terms. It's really basic. I'm not good at the stock market. It's just basic terms. Bearish means that there are more sellers than there are buyers. This means that the price will naturally go down as more people are undercutting than there are people buying the price up, if that makes any sense. Bullish means that there are more buyers than there are sellers, which means that people will naturally buy the price up more than people can keep the price down, you know? So basically that's what bearish and bullish means. I'll probably use the terms a little bit later. Yeah, radiant shards are definitely a bullish market, not bearish. They're bullish. Fairy dust is bearish as fuck. Do not do fairy dust. Bad idea. Of course, it did work in the past, but in the past, I never like went full balls to the wall, invested like 60% of my flux pocket in fairy dust at once. I did do that, but don't do that. That's not a good idea. Only do like at max 10% of your flux pocket at once in fairy dust, because it's just not. It's not worth it. Anyways, I was just farming Shadow Towers and I was selling off the fairy dust and the radiant shards I had bought. I ended up actually hitting 1 mil today. 100 or 1 million liquid flux today before I had sold off both of these completely, so the challenge is officially over. I ended today with 302 Shadow Caches, not Shadow Tower Caches. I ended with 2,246 fairy dust to sell and 23,626 radiant shards to sell. Both of the fairy dust and the radiant shards, both of those were including the ones I had in the market at the time. Anyways, the Shadow Caches are worth 111,740 flux, selling at 370 each, which is a very reasonable price. I'll easily be able to sell at that. The fairy dust is 314,440 flux, selling at 140 each, which I should be able to sell them off all at that price eventually. And the radiant shards are 127,580 flux, selling at 5.4 each, which I don't think I'll have any problem selling those. They have been popping off, man. This, combined with my liquid flux, means that right now I'm at about 1,559,978 flux in 8 days from literally 0 flux. This could have gone a lot faster if I had just done like 400 Ganda trains, but that's no fun, so, you know. If you wanted, you could just mine nitro up until like your first 1 mil, and then past that, it'll just be easy flipping the market. And the more you have, the more you'll make. But I don't know, I enjoy flipping, and doing it at low amounts of flux makes it even more fun because you gain less. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you can forgive me for not entertaining your faces. Also wanted to end this video off with some questions. I want to make a new flipping series. Basically, you know, the flipping is what I'm known for, so I'm sticking to the theme. The idea of the series is I'm going to be flipping every item in Trove, eventually ending with me flipping the Gonda for profit. I think this is a really cool idea, and flipping the Gonda is going to be freaking hysterical. I mean, that is going to be amazing. I cannot wait to make that. I think it can help all of us as we can learn, you know, which market is the most profitable. Of course, the Gonda is the most profitable. I mean, come on, it's freaking Gonda. The Gonda video is going to be really fun because it's probably going to take me like a few months to make it. Like buying it and selling it, the Gonda is probably going to take like a month to sell. Also, I'll have to monitor the market over much longer terms of time, so I'll probably be monitoring the Gonda market for over like 6 months, and then I'll make my decision of when I want to buy, at what price, and when I want to sell at which price. So it's gonna be fun, okay? It's gonna be fun. Also, this will hopefully increase the competition on the Trove markets, which is always a good thing. Anyways, tell me in the comments. I'll post a comment and respond to my comment. Which item do you want me to start with? Which item do you want me to do next? Okay, let me know and we'll check it out. I'll start checking it out. Of course, I'm gonna record all the classics first, just the ones that I know are profitable, because I know people are gonna watch these and they'll be like, ooh, that may be a good idea. He made X off of this. You know, but really the market is horrible. So I have to, you know, like I want to do the most profitable ones first so that people aren't like going broke from my videos. Also, if you want to come play Trove with me, I'm in a club called Nerd Rage. This club is super cool and it's full of nice people, so if you want to come play with me, like, I'm there. So yeah, and yeah, see you guys in the next one.